Mr. President.
The senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, we just had a shutdown over something that the American people, I'm not sure quite understand, but what they do understand is that they cannot afford their health insurance. They cannot, if you will, afford the cost of being insured. Prices of health insurance and of health care, they're up for everybody. It is not sustainable, and they're looking to us, they're looking to Congress for solutions. Now, as a physician, as a doctor, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen patients come to see me with insurance, but they could not afford their deductible. I've seen people who could not afford their insurance and so therefore take the risk that they won't get sick. We should not have that in our country. In July, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Help Committee, which I chair, discussed affordability across the entire commercial insurance market, trying to find out why costs are going up so high when you're buying your insurance through your employer, or it's the employer buying insurance for the employee. But it doesn't matter. If you're on the individual market or you're in the small business market, you're paying more. And because of increasing health care costs, insurance premiums are climbing as well. Now, let's go to the Obamacare exchanges, because the shutdown we just had for over 40 days was related to the fact that subsidies are ending on the Obamacare exchanges. A little bit of history. During the COVID pandemic, health insurance premiums were going up so much that Democrats passed extended, temporary, enhanced premium tax credits, if you will, EPTCs, which help give more money on top of the original Obamacare subsidies to help people afford their premiums. Now, the way it works is they didn't give the money to the patient, to the individual, to our fellow American. They give the money or gave the money to highly consolidated insurance companies, which take 20% of that for profit and overhead. Now, I am not knocking insurance companies. We all have insurance in our car, for flood insurance, for home and property and casualty, et cetera. But I'm just pointing out, they do take 20% of what we give them for profit and overhead. And by giving the money to the insurance companies, we're not actually lowering the cost of the premium. We're just papering over it with subsidies. Somebody's paying for that. It is the taxpayer who is paying for that. The premium is going up. Yes, the person getting the insurance pays less, but we, the taxpayers, are paying for it. There is no free lunch when it comes to this. The enhanced premium tax credits don't lower the cost of health care, but it is a Band-Aid on a broken bone. By the way, we can prove this. In 2014, taxpayers covered 68% of an Obamacare exchange enrollee's premiums. By 2020, 60% had become 80%, meaning that's how much the taxpayer was subsidizing. From 21 to 25, the era of the enhanced premium tax credits, the taxpayer share of subsidizing the premiums on the exchanges grew to 93%. What started off as 68% had became 93% in this year. And yet, despite all this money, let me repeat, the actual premium never decreased. It's just that the taxpayers were paying more of it for our fellow Americans. Now, somebody is paying it. You and I are paying it. And by the way, if you're not getting extra money, if you're paying for it on your own, you are still paying those higher and higher rates. If I was that person, individually insured, not getting a subsidy when everyone else was, but my tax dollars going to subsidize other people, I'd feel totally taken advantage of. You're paying for others to get cheaper insurance, but you're paying more because nobody's addressing the higher cost of health care. We should be fair to our fellow Americans who can't afford their premiums. We should be fair to our fellow Americans who are not getting subsidies. So what do we have to do? Well, let's go after the root cause of what's causing the health care cost to rise. Let's find out why that is, and let's attempt to decrease the cost of health care. It's hard, but I think there's practical solutions that are implementable that could actually do that. But that's only one part of the conversation. The second part of the conversation is, what do we do about January 1, 2026, when some people on the exchanges, when the tax credits that the Democrats passed, they set to expire at the end of this year? What do we do for those Americans, in some cases facing $33,000 a year premiums with a salary of $90,000? What do we do for them? Now, some people just want to continue the subsidies as they are. Status quo. Let's continue the subsidies for 3 more years. And yes, the premiums continue to rise. Yes, it requires taxpayers to subsidize more and more. And by the way, the policies we're buying have $6,000 deductibles. They want to continue that status quo. Well, I can tell you that I am not interested in status quo. That as a physician, I can tell you putting a Band-Aid over a broken bone doesn't work. And Republicans are absolutely interested in finding a solution that can make health care and health insurance more affordable beginning in January 1, 2026, but going on beyond that. So, what can we do for January 1, 2026? This is where I think we're headed, Mr. President. If Congress does what it always does, Democrats are going to put up a bill, and it's going to fail. And they're going to put up a bill, and they're going to know it's going to fail. And Republicans will put up a bill, and it will fail. And everyone will know that bill will fail too. And then premiums will rise January 1, 2026. The American people looking at Congress for a solution will find 2 bills side by side, neither of which passes, both of which we know will fail, and their premiums go up. That should not be an option. I suggest that we find a solution. Not a Republican solution, not a Democratic solution, an American solution. Put differently, not an R, not a D, but an A solution. Now, there are ideas out there on the right and the left that are big ideas, good ideas, or bad ideas, but they're going to take a long time to discuss, debate, and figure out and implement. We got to be focused on January 1, 2026. And we've got to build, that means we've got to build on what we already have. Now, folks may not like what we already have, but we've got to focus on getting something done in 3 weeks. So, we got 2 choices. Do nothing, accepting the premise that no deal is possible, that the enhanced premium tax credits go away, there's no reforms to a failing system, a Democratic bill, Republican bill, both fail like so much fails in Congress, and the American people are not served. That is one option. Or we can roll up our sleeves and figure out something that we can all live with. Now, I think that there is, if you will, such a sweet spot. One in which Congress appropriates funds equivalent, roughly equivalent, to what we would spend on the enhanced premium tax credits. But instead of 100% of this money going to insurance companies, who take 20% of it for their deductible and copay, we give 100% almost to the patient, to our fellow American, in an account that she controls and uses as she wishes. So I'm proposing not to continue. I'll put it up there for our guests in the audience. Good to see y'all. If we do just keep doing what we've been doing for the last 4 years, we send $26 billion to the insurance company, who takes 20% of it for profit and for overhead. That's under the Obamacare law. They can take that 20%. Or we can send 100% to an account that the patient controls. She makes the decision on her doctor, her dentist, some things that insurance doesn't pay for. Eye care, dental care, orthodontia, she makes the decision. She gets the health care she knows she needs, as opposed to the health care the insurance company gives her permission to have. Put differently, giving her the money gives power to the patient. That's where we should be. What Democrat wants to give 100% of the money to the insurance companies for them to take 20% for profit and overhead? What Republican does not want to give power to the patient by putting money in her account for her to use? I'm chuckling, I'll tell you why in a second. For her to use as she sees fit. Sometimes people say, and a lot of men up in the audience, they'll chuckle with me. Some people say, well, why do you use the feminine when you speak about this? Because women make 85% of the decisions in healthcare. And we can trust her to make a decision which is good for her family's health and which is good for her purse, which is good for her pocketbook. Let's have faith in her to make the wise decision for her family as opposed to having to go to the insurance company, which returns roughly 80% of it back, but takes 20% for profit and overhead. Give power to the patient. Now, you can do this because under Obamacare, you can take a credit which goes to one more expensive health care policy. You can apply it to a less expensive policy. That gives you savings, and those savings you can split up between all the people on the eligible people on the exchanges into their health savings account. It would be to the patient's financial advantage to take a cheaper plan, but to have the health savings account to help pay for her expenses. By the way, the health savings account, it has been shown, empowers, encourages somebody to make wise decisions. If she knows that I can get the x-ray here for $500 or down the street for $2,500, she's going to go where she gets it for $500. That begins to lower cost because the people who are more expensive will lower their cost. She, the woman in charge of this, is going to drive lower cost across the healthcare economy. Now, some folks say, wait a second, health savings accounts, aren't those just for rich people? No. One, I don't think they are in general, but in this case, we are pre-funding them. It doesn't matter what your income is. You get more money in. The federal government, instead of sending it to the insurance company, puts it into the account for you. You get more money. By the way, if you do it the way I would like to set it up, if you're less well off, you get more money. If you're a little bit older, you get more money because I hate to say it, when you get a little bit older, your health care costs go up. And if you have a bunch of kids, you get a little bit of extra money too, because taking a child to the emergency room can be expensive. We can make this work for the American family as opposed to the American family working to get the insurance company to approve the care that they know they need. Now, my plan does not take away coverage. It doesn't touch the original Obamacare tax credits. But patients need a solution that reduces their cost of being insured, not just the cost of the premium. There are a lot of other issues to address. I'm pro-life. There's some pro-life issues. But I have found that if we come together in a well-meaning way and work out a way that we can keep the American people from getting stuck with a high health care cost, we treat their tax dollars with respect, and ideally lower the cost of the program, we can work out other issues. President Trump endorses this approach. President Trump has said he would rather not give money to the insurance companies. He would rather give it to the people. Actually, he said, don't give the money to the money-sucking insurance companies, give it to the patient, or something like that. President Trump has a way with words. So however you say it, let's give the patient the power. Because President Trump endorses it, though, I do think that Republicans will, by and large, support it, that there will be a vote in the House of Representatives. And there's enough in here that Democrats want that Democrats can find some way to embrace it. The American people want something to pass. Let's work to find something that can pass. Let's give power to the patient, not profit to the insurance company. Let's make health care affordable again. With that, I yield.
Sir, 1 second. Can you just put it in for Paul?
Mr. President, I suggest the absence of a quorum and request a quorum.
Roll.
Ms. Also Brooks.